I feel like this isn't something that should influence my life so drastically. But it has, and it still is. I might be over the panic attacks, but that doesn't mean that the consequences aren't there anymore.
I remember when I was first having panic attacks, my sister looked at me and said, "You can't just have a panic attack for no reason. Like, that's not even possible." She said, "I've had a panic attack. I know."
But you know, she's a sister, she's not a mom, so she doesn't have that instinct.
I just looked at her and kind of wondered why she would even say that to me while I'm having a panic attack, because I thought that was rude.
Have you been recording this whole time?
Maybe.
That's bad. I'm talking crap on the camera.
That's Becca. And her mom, Kathy. I first met her at church. She was so loud and enthusiastic. I'm Julia. And for my senior project, I really wanted to take a close look at panic attacks, which have profoundly impacted my life as well as Becca's. You can't see how panic attacks can really change someone unless you're looking for it. I want to show you that, and show you how much they've changed me, too.
No, that's so wrong.
This is my room. It's very big. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to put myself in a position where I'd have to talk to anybody or look at anybody.
I can look at her face and tell that, you know, something's not right.
Before, it was like something bad happened and immediately I started crying and I couldn't get myself to stop.
And it was, just leave me alone, I want to be alone, in the dark, in her room.
I wanted it to keep going so someone could do something about it.
I was worried she'd try to hurt herself, because she did get to that point.
Having suicidal thoughts increases the severity of a panic attack by this idea of thoughts lead to feelings.
Especially when she was on medication and first started trying medication. She had an adverse effect to the medication, and it was giving her thoughts of hurting herself and not wanting to live. And
therefore, they're left with a feeling of decreased power to deal with the panic itself.
So when I am having a panic attack, I usually get really, really hot really fast, and I'm obviously crying, and I start hyperventilating really bad.
The hyperventilating creates muscle tension, and with muscles tightening, of course, that creates tension, and tension is often considered a component of panic and anxiety.
The first trigger was when I was kind of sitting in my dorm room and I'd gotten everything set up.
She had been nervous all day, and we could tell she was nervous all day, and we could tell that she wasn't herself.
I kind of just felt like in a day I would be all alone and I'd have no one that I knew to talk to.
And then when it got time for us to walk her back, we had gone to a ceremony. We were going to walk her back to the dorm and we were going to get ready to leave. She just started breathing deeply and heavily and then went into a panic.
I was so homesick that I started having really bad panic attacks.
Becca and I both spent the fall months in a state of constant panic and anxiety. A lot of the time, it felt like it would never get better, like there was nothing to look forward to because I couldn't see myself in any kind of happy setting.
This thought of impending doom or this concern I'm having right now is not my identity. In fact, my identity is much more than that. And so there are ways for each person to tell themselves.
It's just, I just feel so lost and so confused and so alone.
So she'd feel helpless and hopeless, but then we would too, because nothing we would say and nothing we would do. And the counselor would say, well, the best thing for her is when she asks you to please leave her alone, leave her alone as long as you're sure that she's in a safe place.
Even though I have my parents there with me, comforting me, I feel like maybe sometimes it's not enough.
But that was hard. It was really hard. It's hard to walk out of the room when your child is suffering and watching them crying and uncontrollably, and you're walking out of the room. But they're asking you to. That's hard too, to take that.
This has impacted my parents a lot.
I mean, we were the ones experiencing them with her. But we weren't the ones that she turned to talk to.
Being in a relationship allows people to express themselves, express their thoughts and emotions. And if they're just sitting by themselves, or if they're just alone often, they don't have the support from others.
There were several of them, including you, that would come over and help her try to get through them and sit with her.
They are constantly worrying about me, and more recently it's been really good because I haven't been showing any signs of panic attacks. I've been really happy. Everything's been absolutely wonderful.
I'm gonna put it on a plate. Yes. Would you like a spatula?
Especially for me, I wanted to be the one that helped her, but then again, I wanted whatever was best for her.
But when I was having my panic attacks, my parents would make sure I was okay. They'd make sure I was home. And then when I was home, someone else was home with me.
Her dad and I and Rebecca, the three of us went together to see her psychologist the first time.
And I knew, like, whenever my parents went to like a therapy session with me, my mom would always cry.
Because it was important for us to know what we should do for her.
She always cried when I have my panic attacks.
Because we didn't want to make it worse. And
my dad would sit there and tell me to stop.
Becca's dad has a tendency, he's one of those tough love type people, so, you know, he would say, just deal with it, get over it.
Yeah, that's his normal.
I don't have any smile left
Where'd your smile go?
in a family like this.
And so I know it affected them a lot. And my mom stayed home from work a couple times to be with me.
And it wasn't really it was a disruption, if you want to call it, for my job, but it was my priority.
And I can imagine it was just as hard for them as it was for me to be going through it.
We all had different ideas about how it should be handled, how her attacks should be handled.
They feel like they're responsible, and rightfully so, of their children's emotions and behaviors.
So it was very important to get an expert's opinion on what should be done.
What can be a typical thing is that a parent the parent finds out that their child is having anxiety and panic attacks, and they can definitely feel responsible for this. It's typical, and it's regrettable.
So it's hard to pull back and not try to do something to help.
A major goal for parenting and healthy parenting is to be able to relinquish control when it's appropriate.
I think the biggest thing that we try to do is just to make sure she knows that we are here for her, and no matter what she's feeling, we're here and we love her, and it doesn't matter what she's feeling.
I've been able now to put myself out there and really try to have new friendships and meet new people, which I wasn't able to do before.
I'm sick on my spring break. Loving it.
I mean, you're so used to when your children are sick, they're sick. They have a cold, they have a fever. You know exactly what to do. They have a cut, you put a Band-Aid on it. But when it happens to their mind, that's harder to deal with, because it's harder to accept and it's harder to understand, first of all, and it's hard to diagnose something like that.
Won't listen to any advice. Mom's telling me I should think twice, but left to my own devices, I'm addicted, it's a crisis.
Through having lots of panic attacks, I've come out really strong. I've learned that I do have self-control, and I can stop myself from feeling a certain way.
Becca really helped me through this because it showed me that I wasn't alone, that I wasn't the only one experiencing something like this. It really helped to have her support and to have the support of everyone else around me.